Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the George W. Norris Legislative Chamber for the 73rd day of the 108th Legislature first session. Our chaplain for today is Senator DeBoer. Please rise.
O Holy One, bring us closer to your kingdom, where the last are first and the first last. Guard us against ego, soften our certainties. Remind us that what we do to the least of us, we do to you. Be with those of us who mourn and those who are ill. Today especially, we pray for those who work amongst us, who do not always get recognized as they should for their labors. The clerk staff, the tour guides, the janitorial staff, the craft people who are renovating our building, our AAs and committee clerks, our security officers and sergeants at arms, our IT workers, and all others who work in this building. In the name of the one who is, who was, and always will be, amen.
I recognize Senator Bosin for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I call to order the 73rd day of the 108th Legislature first session. Senators, please record your presence. Roll call. Mr. Clerk, please record.
There's quorum present, Mr. President.
Thank you. Are there any corrections for the journal?
There are no corrections this morning.
Are there any messages, reports, or announcements?
There are, Mr. President. Report of registered lobbyists for May 4th, 2023 will be in the Legislative Journal. Additionally, agency reports electronically filed with the legislature can be found on the Nebraska Legislature's website. Notification that the Transportation Committee will hold an executive session today at 10:30 under the south balcony. Transportation under the south balcony today at 10:30. Business and Labor will hold an executive session today at 1:30 under the south balcony. Business and Labor 1:30 under the south balcony. That's all I have this time, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Senator Raybold, you're recognized for an announcement.
Buenos días. Feliz 5 de mayo, pero también es la Día de los Índigos Desaparecidos y Asesinados. I said good morning. Happy 5 de mayo, but good morning, colleagues. I rise to share with you that President Biden has proclaimed May 5th, 2023 to be Missing or Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day. Victimization rates for Indigenous persons, including children, are higher than the national averages. We know that Native American women are murdered 10 times more than the national average, and these crimes are underreported and remain unsolved at disproportionate rates. For decades, many families were left to search for, investigate, and fight for justice for their loved ones as they endured their own grief. While today we recognize the epidemic of missing or murdered Native Americans and Alaska Natives, it is important that every day we put action behind our words. I am grateful for the significant and ongoing improvements toward this effort at the national level and grateful for those who have worked to prioritize resources to help overcome the barriers to reporting and investigating missing and murdered Indigenous persons in our state. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Raybold. Mr. Clerk, for items.
Mr. President, turning to the agenda, Legislative Bill 813, introduced by the Speaker at the request of the Governor. It's a bill for an act relating to appropriations. Amends several sections, defines terms for right changes, and eliminates appropriations for operation of state government. Repeals the original section, declares an emergency. Bill was read for the first time on January 25th of this year and placed on general file, referred to the Appropriations Committee. That committee placed the bill on general file with committee amendments. Pending, Mr. President, are the bill itself, the committee amendments, as well as an amendment from Senator Michaela Cavanaugh.
Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I hope you had a good evening and a good morning. I was just looking and I haven't located it yet this morning, an article that pertains to a conversation that I started having last night. I want to make sure I remember which amendment we are actually on here. So this strikes Section 20. I know a few of you were kind of cheeky last night, agents of chaos, and voted for my amendment to strike the operation budget for DHHS. Just want to make sure we know what we're voting on this morning. With AM 1627, strikes Section 20 of AM 1169. Yep, that is striking Agency 46, Department of Correctional Services Program number 200 operations. Its program total is $24,925,453. So I'd encourage you to not vote for AM 1627, but if you do, that is what it does. It strikes the operational budget for corrections. Okay, So yesterday, as I was reading through The Martian, I came across that we had a 5.5 million transfer from, or shift, I'm not sure what the right terminology is, still working on my morning coffee, so bear with me a little bit, but transfer from behavioral health aid to pay for a lawsuit settlement of WinPro. And then it came to my attention that there was actually a committee hearing for business and labor yesterday on this very thing, how apropos, timing, about the lawsuit with WinPro. And I believe Senator Conrad had asked the question about why this wasn't part of the claims bill. And I see that we do have the claims bill on the agenda today on select file, and perhaps there is an answer forthcoming that we're going to move this out of the budget and put it into the claims bill. I know we had another lawsuit settled with the state patrol. I don't remember the exact amount. I want to say it's 18 million, but I could be wrong. Again, working on my morning coffee. So for now, I think I'm going to try and find those articles so that I can be more well informed on what exactly is happening. Although anyone who's involved in the Business and Labor Committee hearing or any member of the Appropriations Committee is welcome to get on the microphone and explain to not only your colleagues, but the state of Nebraska what this is all about, because it is not clear and there hasn't been an explanation given. And I do think that that is unfortunate. We do have at least 5 hours left on this bill, and it would be really just excellent leadership, policymaking, if you all who sit on appropriations could spend a little time and energy explaining what your intention
1
is
minute.
in this budget. I will say I am extraordinarily disappointed in the lack of engagement over the last 3 days with members of the Appropriations Committee, but I guess you don't feel you owe us any explanations or education on the budget. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. Senator Clemens, you're recognized to speak.
Good morning, Mr. President. Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to give a refresher on what LB 813 is. It's the third of the major budget bills, which is called the deficit bill. It's funding agency needs through June 30th for agencies that had increased expenses over what they had budgeted previously. And we had corrections, had increased salaries and some increased number of employees. And we had in Health and Human Services, they had expenses for computers, IT expense, and one settlement with a software company. The total of that is $32,134,000, and that is what the proposal is in this bill, and we have it funded on your green sheet showing the general fund status of $714 million. That $32 million has already been taken out of that number, so passing this bill won't reduce what you're seeing for available revenues yet. And I just wanted to do a little refresher for that, and I was glad to see that there were no corrections for the journal being needed to be done this morning. Thank you, Senator Wayne, for approving the journal today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Clemens. Senator Sanders, you're recognized to speak. Thank you. Senator Michaela Kavanaugh, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do I have one more time or do I just have my close after this?
One more time.
Okay. Okay. So clearly, members of the committee are not going to engage on the budget. And I'm really sorry for that. It's certainly exhausting. It is exhausting. And part of what's exhausting is that I shouldn't be talking as much as I am. On the budget, I shouldn't be talking as much as I am. And I have sat back when people are talking and on specific issues, I've sat back so that the body can engage in the conversation around the budget. And I've participated when the body is engaging around the budget when it is something that I feel under any other circumstances that I would engage in. But the budget is our responsibility. It is literally our only responsibility. And the fact that there are numerous members of the Appropriations Committee who have yet to even speak on any of the budget bills, not a single word. I don't know why you're on the committee if you can't help carry the water on explaining the budget to the body. And to the rest of the body, what are you all doing? This is a substantial, multiple pieces of legislation that none of you are talking about. And I'm standing here reading it to you, highlighting pretty significant concerns. And you all are remaining silent and you're going to just vote for it. What are y'all doing? Why'd you even show up? You don't need to be here. If you're not going to do your jobs, you don't need to be here. You can go see your families. Behavioral health aid, page 27. In addition to the FMAP decreases and provider rate amounts described above, the proposed budget includes funding for the 988 call center beginning July 2022, nationwide use of a 3-digit code for persons to access behavioral health assistance and referral, including for suicide ideation and other behavioral health emergency care. Call the House. I waive my closing. Thank you.
There's been a request to place the House under call. Question is, shall the House go under call? All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed, vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
13 ayes, 3 nays, place House under call.
The House is under call. Senators, please record your presence. Those unexcused senators outside the chamber, please return and record your presence. All unauthorized personnel, please leave the floor. The House is under call. All unexcused senators are now present. Members, the question is the adoption of AM 1627. All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed, vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
1 A, 34 nays in adoption of the amendment.
The amendment is not adopted. I raise the call. Mr. Clerk, for items.
Mr. President, Senator Michaela Cavanaugh would move to offer AM 1628.
Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, you're recognized to open on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's see here. 1628. 1628 strikes section 27. Okay. See what that is. Section 27 of AM 11. Nope. Wrong one. Okay. AM 1169. Section, what did I say? 27? Section 27. Department of Economic Development, Community Development. Cash fund, $10 million. There's included in the appropriation for this program for FY 21, 22, cash fund, 0 cash funds, and for 22, 23, 10 million cash funds for state aid, which shall only be used for such purposes. All right. So AM 1628 strikes a $10 million community development grant to the Department of Economic Development. Okay. Nebraska settles $15.5 million lawsuit for $5.5 million. Nebraska settled a 2019 lawsuit with India-based technology company Wipro Limited for $5.5 million, about 1/3 of the amount that the company sought. Wipro was hired to conduct an $84 million upgrade to the state's Medicaid eligibility and enrollment management system. After the state prematurely ended the contract in late 2018, the company sued for $15.5 million, alleging the state failed to pay it what it were owed before the contract was terminated. The work began in 2014 in an effort to bring Nebraska in line with the Affordable Care Act. Prior to Wipro's contract being terminated, the state had paid the company roughly $6 million, according to previous reports. Bo Patello, General Counsel for the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, said at a hearing Thursday that $5.5 million represents the total settlement agreed upon by both state and Wipro officials. Again, there was a hearing Thursday, that being yesterday. The settlement was part of an amendment to Legislative Bill 828, which acts as a regular legislative measure used to appropriate funds for various claims made against the state. Overall, the amendment totals more than 26 million. The biggest chunk of that is 18.75 million in a separate settlement that Attorney General Mike Hildress announced 2 weeks ago. It will resolve a 12-year legal dispute over state trooper salary and retirement benefits. The lawsuit filed by state troopers claimed the legislature approved unconstitutional increases to the troopers' pension contribution rate from 8% in the 1990s to 19% by 2011. The suit was filed in 2011, making it one of the longest lasting litigations in Nebraska history. Hildress said Thursday, he said the lengthy dispute has incurred significant costs to both sides, and some of the troopers who were part of the original lawsuit have since passed away. Even so, he said the settlement will benefit more than 400 current and former members of the patrol and will impact roughly 28 years of payroll. That must be the end of it. When you print an article, then it prints whatever pictures are also there, and so there's some other pictures here. Okay. So yesterday I was reading about the Wipro lawsuit, and there's an article about that. And this all got on my radar because I did this miraculous thing where I was reading the budget. Something everyone, 48 other members, should do. And I question if even the members of the Appropriations Committee have read the budget. So let's see here. We've got, it was in LB 282, which is on the agenda for today. So the claims bill is on the agenda for today. And I haven't looked yet. I'll do that now and see if there's some sort of amendment pending on the claims bill. Let's see here. No new amendments pending, I don't believe. There are motions pending. There is an amendment. Following sums of money, therefore required hereby general funds. Let's see here. So there is an amendment pending, but it doesn't so far appear to be related to the settlements for claims against the state. And then I wonder, it'd be great to get an answer from someone on the Appropriations Committee yet again. I wonder, how do we typically fund claims against the state? Is it a typical course of action that we would just take funds from another area of spending? Do we not use general funds for claims against the state? Why are we shifting funds around? Okay, so I'll just go back to reading. License plate cost decrease, page 135 of The Martian. A new issuance of license plates will be wanted to know why. Why are we increasing the fee for a license plate? And I had hope, not much, really barely at all, not even a glimmer, maybe a pinprick of a hole of hope, that perhaps part of the reason we were requesting an increase in the cost in license plates was because of the most expensive part, the labor. Perhaps we were going to pay those who are producing our license plates more than 83 cents an hour. Of course, that wasn't what it was. We were not going to pay people who are incarcerated who work for Cornhusker State Industries more than 83 cents an hour to produce our license plates. That would just be bananas. No, the cost of metal had increased, so we had to increase the cost of our license plates. I don't even know the last time we increased how much we pay people who work for Cornhusker State Industries, Sweatshop by Nebraska. I'm not sure that we have in decades. But I do know that we pay them less than $1 an hour. So that's great. That's great. Cornhusker State Industries, where you can get your products produced at the cheapest rate possible. Are you looking for an inhumane living situation where you can get paid slave wages? Welcome to Cornhusker State Industries. Operated by your Nebraska Correctional Services, Cornhusker State Industries. Job is waiting for you. It comes with room and board, but you're probably not going to want it. All you have to do is be dehumanized, demoralized, marginalized, cast aside by your state, and then we'll hire you and put you up at Cornhusker State Industries. You know what's great is that what will lead you to Cornhusker State Industries is a lack of investment in mental health care. We're here to do that too. We'll take $5 million away from the Behavioral Health Aid Fund to pay for our own lawsuits because we are incompetent at running government and procurement. Cornhusker State Industries, we're here to serve. Anywho, back to the license plates produced by Cornhusker State Industries. Funds to pay for license plates and stickers are transferred from the Highway Trust Fund to the License Plate Cash Fund. The Highway Trust Fund is reimbursed through the collection of the license plate fee, which will be $4.10 for the 2023 plates. The agency is requesting a decrease in the budget for this program as most of the new 2023 series plates have been produced. The agency is seeking a decrease in the budget for the program because the plates have been produced. We wouldn't want to use that excess money to pay the people that are producing them more. No, that would be, again, bananas. The current base appropriation, FY 22-23, is $6,157,919. For FY 23-24, an adjustment is needed of $2,486,577 for an estimated appropriation of $3,671,342 transferred from the Highway Trust Fund.
1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. President. In FY 24-25, the necessary adjustments would be $3,379,928 from the current base for an estimated need of $2,777,991. Well, that's just lovely. I hope we can learn more about Cornhusker State Industries in our journey today. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. Senator McKinney, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know where I'm at on this bill. I'm probably no. And Senator Michaela Kavanaugh, thank you for bringing up Cornhusker State Industries. If you didn't know, you should know that, according to the United States Constitution, you're legally a slave if you're incarcerated in prison. A few years ago, Senator Wayne was able to get, slavery removed from our state's constitution, although about, I think 30% of the state still wanted slavery to be in the Constitution. So that's where we're at. And I'm going to continue the conversation about the prison. I'm going to keep talking about it because it's wrong. The Nebraska State Penitentiary is not going to close. And you guys are going to vote to build a prison. The Appropriations Committee voted for the prison without requiring the Department of Punitive Services to do their job. Then you shut down 2 amendments yesterday that would have required them to do their job. So we're going to have fun and keep this conversation going. I just, had to walk away yesterday because I wanted to get my thoughts together before I got on the mic, and I think it was a good idea. But I'm still upset and disappointed in the body for not stepping up to do the right thing. No one has yet to stand up and tell me why you guys don't want the department to do a classification study, why you didn't require them to really study programming, why you didn't require them to study staffing and mental health needs in prisons. You just blindly voted for the prison, and now after blindly voting for the prison, you guys want to come back and say, oh, we messed up, we're sorry. Go tell that to the men and women that are stuck in prison. Go tell them you're sorry. Go tell that to the men and women who are in prison because they got incarcerated because of residue. And now they're stuck in a pen for 5+ years. And they have to work as slaves in Cornhusker State Industries, and nobody wants to raise the wages for incarcerated individuals. Go talk to them and tell them you're sorry. Stand up and tell them you're sorry. Stand up and tell them that you didn't tell the truth about the prison for the past 3 years and that you want to keep your options open and that your argument for programming really isn't a strong argument because you're not requiring them to study programming and you're not putting money aside for programming. Tell them that. Stand up and say that. Told the truth, and you're trying to find a way to not make the truth. But the truth is, you don't want to close NSP. Something I've suspected since I've been here, that you're just trying to build a prison to add another prison to the state. It's not a replacement prison because you don't even want to close it. You don't want to bulldoze it. You don't want to do anything. So tell the Nebraskan people that for 3 years, the truth wasn't told about the Nebraska State Penitentiary. It is not closing. I repeat, the Nebraska State Prison is not closing. We're just building another prison. And it's probably not going to be staffed properly. Tecumseh is already not staffed properly because we made the dumb idea in the late 90s, early 2000s to build it in an area that doesn't have a labor force. So now the men that are in Tecumseh barely can see their families.
1 minute.
They have to be basically on lockdown for 72 hours on the weekend because the state wanted to be tough on crime and build prisons without logic. And we're making the same mistake again. And everyone's okay with it, especially the Appropriations Committee, who voted blindly to build the prison without requiring them to do the bare minimum of doing their job, holding them accountable to the law. So just think about that today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator McKinney. Senator Clements, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to AM 1628, and I'll just refresh you on what that section, it's striking section 27, Department of Economic Development, a $10 million allocation to their cash fund. And it's, let's see, the item that we approved in the budget, it says due to an increase in cash fund receipts and increase in housing construction prices, the department is requesting a one-time increase in its cash fund for fiscal year 23. Without the increase in expending authority, the department will not meet its affordable housing goals. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund gets money from the documentary tax. When you sell a piece of real estate, there's a documentary tax called a transfer tax sometimes that's due to paid by the seller, and that a portion of that tax goes for affordable housing and for low-income people in Nebraska. And that's they had an increase in revenues for that, but they can't spend it until we authorize that. So there's $10 million that the Department of Economic Development would like to add to the affordable housing.
To come to this place because I have to. Because of the choices that the people in this chamber continue to make, force me to have to. And it is hard and it hurts. And I don't want to be here and I don't want to be talking. And I hate that people continue to support a bill that harms children because they're too weak to stand up to a backbench freshman and say, your bill is garbage and I'm not going to support it. It's bad policy. It's poorly written. It hurts medicine in the state of Nebraska. It hurts the business community. It hurts children. It hurts families. It hurts parents. It's a human rights violation. It's a parental rights violation. It's a civil rights violation. And you can't stand up to a backbench freshman and tell them that. And I hate it so much. I hate being here. I hate being here. I am fortunate that I don't sit where Senator Hunt sits, that I don't have to sit on either side of me with people that want to take away my parental rights like she does.
1 minute.
I hate it. And I have people ask me all of the time, all day, every day, how do you do it? How do you do it? I don't effing know how I do it. I don't know. Coffee, water, and sheer determination to not let children in this state get hurt by this body. That's how I do it. And I hate it. I hate it so much. I want to be with my kids. One of my kids is sick. I want to be home with that kid. I want to snuggle my kid. But I can't fail kids. So my husband's doing it. God love him for it. I love him so much for it. So instead of being home with my sick kid, I am here with people who want to hurt kids.
That's your time, Senator. Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. Senator Clemens has some guests in the north balcony, 45 fourth graders from Conestoga Elementary in Murray. Please stand and be recognized by your Nebraska Legislature. Senator McKinney, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. An article came out today about the Nebraska Parole Board. It's titled, "After Heat from State Leaders, Nebraska Parole Board Shows Up." Something interesting happened, said me, after public and state lawmakers learned that members of the Nebraska Parole Board rarely showed up together for parole hearings. The board members started attending more hearings. This year, the parole board's 5 members have appeared together at hearings twice as often as they did in 2021, according to Flatwater Free Press analysis. Board attendance spiked in spring 2022. That came after Flatwater Free Press story showing that in the previous 3 years, the board had recorded votes from all 5 members at only 37% of its hearings. And board members' attendance spiked again this year, soon after McKinney introduced a bill meant to curtail the members' number of times a board member can miss a vote. In the 2 months after the bill's introduction, 63% of parole candidates had their cases heard by the full board. That's the first time in 5 years parole candidates had a higher chance of presenting their case to their full board rather than a partial board. "There's no problem with our hearings," said Roz Cotton. And where is this? Okay. All right. I actually think that the data you're showing is more than an anomaly instead of a pattern, the board's legal counsel said. Honestly, 2023 is probably more representative. McKinney, a Democrat, had one-word response when learning about this information. I just called it interesting that a news agency put out an article and I introduced a bill and the parole board started showing up more. Guess they were feeling pressure. Board member attendance does matter, and an analysis of the past 5 years shows that. When all 5 members were present and voting, the board granted parole 62.6% of the time in the past 5 years. When only 3 or 4 members were present enough for quorum, the board paroled only 56.4% of the cases it heard. This persistent gap could have kept nearly 200 parole-eligible individuals behind bars longer between 2018 and 2021, costing the state hundreds of thousands of dollars those 3 years, the analysis showed. And that parole gap persisted in 2023 as the state continues to grapple with prison overcrowding and makes plans to build another $350 million plantation. You got poor attendance, and then you got declining parole rate. It all goes together. We have to figure out a system to make it work, and it's not helpful that the parole board hasn't been doing their best of their abilities as far as their jobs in a sense. Board members were interviewed, and they said that they're doing their best job to show up to hearings and always make 3-member quorum needed for a hearing to proceed. Cotton, who's the chair, she said she was on medical leave at various points of 2021 and 2022. She missed most hearings of any board member during the 5-year period examined by the Flatwater Free Press. There is no problem with our hearings. I have been going on medical, and I don't have to tell the world I'm out on medical as long as we have quorum.
1 minute.
The problem is that we have a prison overcrowding crisis, and we have a board that's in charge of assisting the state and the legislature with that crisis, and they haven't been showing up. And it's only because of a previous article and me introducing a bill to make changes to the parole board, in which I prioritize, and I'm hopeful to get it out of the Judiciary Committee and pass this year, that they started showing up and doing their job. And that's why the Appropriations Committee should have made sure the Department of Punitive Services stepped up and was doing their job, and y'all voted that down yesterday, and that's the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator McKinney. Seeing no one else in the queue, Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, you're recognized to close on AM 1628.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to get back to these claims in a minute. I'll do it on my next 10-minute opening. I looked up Nebraska's Cornhusker State Industries. They have a website. Makes it sound really nice. The Cornhusker State Industries, building opportunities. We are a 136-year-old, 100% self-supported correctional industries program with the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services. We provide opportunities to about 500 incarcerated men and women daily to learn job skills which enable them to successfully re-enter society, obtain employment, and contribute to tax-paying citizens. I'd like to dispute at least one of those claims, obtain employment. So Cornhusker State Industries has contracts for various things that they create and build. Some of them are with the state, some of them are with private companies. And we don't require companies that we contract with that we have members opportunities for incarcerated men and women to work for. We don't require, there's no stipulation in these contracts that they need to hire a certain percentage of post-release convicts. So they're good enough to work for them when they're incarcerated and they work for Cornhusker State Industries. They're good enough to have a contract with the state and employ these individuals then. But when these individuals are no longer incarcerated, they don't hire them because of their felony convictions. They're no longer good enough to work for them. Interestingly, post-release, they would also have to pay them at least minimum wage. So it would also cost them more to employ these individuals. It's a wonder. It's a mystery. How does this all work? I don't know. So there we go. but they've got great opportunities. They've got a top 10 benefits of correctional industries. Reduces recidivism. Correctional industries is a proven program that works. CI's recidivism rate of 20.5% versus the state rate of 40.5% illustrates that offenders working in CI are less likely to return to prison than the average offender. Saves taxpayer money. 86% of CI's programs are self-funded and operate solely from the revenue they generate from the products and services they provide without relying on tax-appropriated funds. I don't know how that saves the taxpayers money at all. That doesn't make any sense. We have this program that we have purely because it is a program that we have. And because we have this program, we're saving you money because it costs you nothing for us to do this program that we have.
1 minute.
Okay. I have a program too. It costs the state, it saves taxpayer dollars because I don't charge the taxpayers anything for it. Keeps prisons and communities safer. Correctional industries programs effectively reduce offender idleness. This is the best one yet. It reduces offender idleness. This is their rationale for paying people less than $1 an hour, is that it reduces their idleness. You know what else? Paying somebody minimum wage, paying them to work for minimum wage also reduces their idleness. And it allows them to have money to support their family outside of corrections, money to save, money for commissary. Yeah, it pays people for their work instead of
That's your
treating.
time, Senator.
Thank you. Call the House.
There has been a request to place the House under call. The question is, shall the House go under call? All those in favor? That was our close. The question is, shall the House go under call? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
14 ayes, 4 nays, Mr. President, on the call of the House.
The House is under call. Senators, please record your presence. Those unexcused senators outside the chamber, please return to the chamber and record your presence. All unauthorized personnel, please leave the floor. The House is under call. Senator Lowe, please return to the chamber and record your presence. The House is under call. All unexcused members are present. Senators, the question is the adoption of AM 1628. All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed, vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
No ayes, 30 nays, Mr. President, on adoption of the amendment.
The amendment is not adopted. I raise the call. Mr. Clerk for items.
Mr. President, your Committee on Enrollment Review reports Legislative Bill 92A and 227A to select file. Additionally, your Committee on Enrollment Review reports Legislative Bill 138A, 254A, 683A, and 799A as correctly engrossed and placed on final reading. And notice that the Transportation Committee will hold an executive session at 10:30 under the south balcony. Transportation exec session 10:30 under the south balcony. Mr. President, next amendment, Senator Wayne offers AM 1621 with a note that he wishes to withdraw. Mr. President, Senator Michaela Cavanaugh would move to offer AM 1629.
Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, you're recognized to open on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, this is strike page 8, lines 6 through 22. Of the amendment. So 813 and page 8. Lines 6 through 22. This is the division of employment. There's included in the appropriation to this program for FY 21-22, 1,600,000 cash funds for state aid, which shall only be used for such purpose. There is included in the appropriation to this program for 1 million state aid shall only be used for this purpose. What is the all right, Department of Labor, Division of Employment. So honestly, I don't even know what that does, but probably not something you want to vote for. So corrections. Yeah, that's a whole banana situation. State claims, another banana situation. Nebraska, I am not on the Appropriations Committee. No. I have requested to be on the Appropriations Committee since my freshman year, and I'm not on it. And yet here I am, the only one explaining the bills. So yesterday, I came across in the budget, in the Martian, an item where we are taking $5.5 million out of behavioral health aid, moving it to the general funds to pay for the WIPRO settlement that had a hearing in Business and Labor yesterday. There's an amendment to the Business and Labor Bill 282 that includes, because it's the claims bill, that includes the claims. Now I'm trying to get answers on this. I'm not on the Appropriations Committee. I'm not on the Appropriations Committee. No one on the Appropriations Committee is making even the slightest attempt to answer these questions, to provide clarification on this. However, my staff, the Business and Labor Committee staff, and the fiscal staff are all working together to help get answers to this. What are the members of the Appropriations Committee doing? Sitting at their desks, some of them, not hitting their lights, any of them. So all 9 of them are listed on the website. Feel free to contact them with your questions about the budget. God bless if they'll answer them for you. Okay, so We have this $5.5 million in claims to pay for Whitpro. There's an amendment for the claims bill that includes this. And then there's also the 18 point something million that we need to pay for the state patrol settlement, also in the claims bill. And honest to goodness, if I'm saying things wrong, I would hope that someone on the Appropriations Committee would get on the microphone and correct this. So I'm just gonna say what I think is the situation. And I don't know if I'm right or not. It's my own assessment of what's going on. So we have these claims. We have a claims bill. The claims bill will have an A bill, as all the other bills do. The A bill will usually comes from general funds. Maybe it comes from a cash fund. I don't know. So my question has been, why, if we have a claims bill, why, if this money is in the claims bill, why is it also in the budget? And from what I can tell, what I can discern, this is in the budget because it's not coming from general funds. Paying this claim is coming from behavioral health aid. Why? We have to move the money from the behavioral health aid and DHHS to the general funds to pay the claims. Why? Because if we don't do that, we will reduce the general funds left on the green sheet on the floor. Why? Because we want to do massive corporate and wealthy income taxes, and every penny is going to count. So every dollar we can steal from somewhere else, we are going to. It is a pattern of behavior in this budget. We have the Environmental Trust Fund that we're raiding. We have the Universal Services Fund that we're raiding. We have the Healthcare Cash Fund that we're raiding. We have the TANF Fund that we're raiding. Now we have behavioral health aid that we're raiding. And this is just from what I have been able to read in the last 2 days and figure out on my own. So I guess I understand why no one on the Appropriations Committee wants to stand up and defend this bill or any of these bills, why they're not sitting here any longer. They probably are afraid I'm going to ask them to yield to a question. I'm not. I'm too angry today to ask people to yield to questions. I don't feel very collegial, so I'm not going to ask people to yield to questions because that's not my style. When I ask people to yield to questions, I genuinely want to know the information that I'm asking. And when I'm in a mood where I just can't deal with you all, I'm not going to do it because I like to hold myself to a standard. And that standard is I'm not going to ask people to be on the mic so I can be rude to them. Not a standard you all hold yourselves to when you ask me to yield to questions oftentimes, but a standard I hold myself to. So I'm just going to put forth conjecture, and maybe somebody will respond if it's inaccurate. And if they don't respond, I think we all are fair to assume that it's not inaccurate. So we're taking money from all these different funds to pay for the things that we have to pay for. We have to pay for our claims. We have to pay our lawsuits. So we're taking money from all of these funds. Why? Because we saw the money, so we took the money. We didn't ask questions about the money. We didn't question whether it was appropriate to appropriate the money. We saw the money, we took the money. What does this result in? This results in leveling out growth, which we know is something that the administration is very firm on wanting to accomplish. What else does it do? Taking money, pots of money that we shouldn't be taking from, it also allows us to have more general funds on the floor. Now, what are we going to do with those general funds? That's the $700 million question. What are we going to do with those general funds? Tax cuts and pet projects. In the bill, in the Martian that I was reading yesterday, it talked about reductions because of sunsets that were required to be put into place for Senator DeBoer's child care bill, for Senator McCollister's, now Senator Day's reinstating it, SNAP bill. So those sunsets were in this budget. We do have those amended into a bill to take back. And that is pretty much the beginning, middle, and end of anything we are doing for people
1 minute.
in low-income wage earners and in poverty. That's it. And it amounts to, I don't even think $3 million. And we had to beg for those things to happen. Beg. Senator Hunt talked about this yesterday, about wanting to be unleashed. Part of me wants to be unleashed, and a part of me just wants to go sleep. I got a lot of things to say that I'm not saying a lot. And I don't know if I'll ever say them. I might just go to bed. But I sure would like the opportunity to be able to either say them or go to bed. But I'm held hostage just like everyone else in this chamber is held hostage by 574. I too am held hostage by 574.
That's your time, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. And Senator Hunt, you are recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. We have this joke in my office and with my friends. Is today going to be the day that you throw up? Is today throw up day? And I feel like it might be the day. I feel nauseous. It doesn't matter. Might be the day. I was listening to Senator Michaela Kavanaugh, and it inspired me or provoked me or moved me to get in the queue and share some views about LB 813 and what the connection is to my life as well. Senator Michaela Kavanaugh was talking about how she'd rather be with her family, and you guys can all leave and go be with your families, and you should if you want to. So my kid, who is trans, and I was so proud of him for coming to testify against LB 574. And I don't even think he knew what a big deal this is for the session. I still don't think he knows. I still don't think that he really gets it. And I ask him sometimes, why is this not getting to you more? And he's like, well, it doesn't really affect me because I'm not going to live in Nebraska. So that's the way he views what you all are doing in this state. And this year, he had the opportunity for the first time to join school sports, which Senator Kathleen Kauth wants to take away the opportunity for him to do. And I was never in sports. I was always in academic stuff like academic decathlon or quiz bowl and stuff like that. And I never was an athletic person at all. But my kid, he's already 6 inches taller than me. He's going to be 13 next week. And when I started all of this, when I started running for office, he was only 6. So most of his childhood has been spent with me in here. And now he's shot up. He's this tall. He's skinny and long, and he's a runner. And he is in the boys' finals for the city of Omaha. He's in the city finals next Friday. And being here, fighting every single day for LGBTQ, trans rights, specifically this session, and against the abortion bill, I haven't seen him